Hi everybody, so we're here and we are on our Chip Tarot journey and we are starting it with card number 0, which is the Fool. Now when we start looking at the Fool, you guys will see a picture here that's from a deck that's going to be released around about November, which is a tarot deck that I designed. And I've kept in a lot of the original symbology whilst also making it a little bit more modern. I'm a bit more of a modernist. When we start looking at the original Rider-Waite deck, it doesn't include many of the colors that we have today that we can print with. We need to remember that printing presses at the time of 1910 weren't quite what they are today. So as we advance, I do believe that tarot decks need to advance as well. And yes, we've got better technology, so why not have better symbology and better colors, much more similar to the old hand painted decks rather than just something that was simplified for a printing press at the time. So yes, I know that a lot of people watching this will be like, no, 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 the original deck is the original deck. Let's stay with that. But if we take that and we look at decks printed in the 1500s, for instance, or the 1600s, they are very primitive to the 1910 one. We see a very clear evolution between the two and how much more detail came into it. So why not evolve it from there? But that's just my 2 cents on it. If you are using a Rider-Waite deck from 1910, hip hip hooray, great for you. I do think they are brilliant decks in their own way. I just personally prefer something a little bit more modern, something with a little bit more symbology. And even though we are going to take this from a Rider-Waite perspective, and although most of my decks are based on that system, I do believe that we need that little bit of an evolution to where we are today. So right, let's take a look at the Fool. Now I've got here a few different decks of the Fool. One of my favorites is of course the Wizard's Tarot. This one is by Corinne Keller. She called hers the Initiate. So you can have a look there. We do have the Morgan Greer Tarot, which is used in Gestalt therapy as well. Very vivid, very colorful, beautiful deck. We've got the Druidcraft Tarot here. Very much the traditional symbology of the Fool. Few minor changes. We've got Ellen Dugan's Witch's Tarot, which is also beautiful, very close to the original. And then last but not least for today that I will be showing is the Fool card from the Lightseers Tarot, which is a completely different take and yet so close to the original at the very same time. And this is what I love, is we can go ahead, we can change it, but a lot of the symbology will remain the exact same way. Now, right, let's start talking about the Fool. Now, when we start looking at the Fool, first and foremost is we're looking at the keywords being taking a leap of faith, freedom, courage, innocence, and then of course also potential. Now, when we start looking at the Fool, we're actually looking at the archetype of the inner child. And that's the beauty of this card. It's the heart of this card is actually the inner child. Now, when we start discovering the Fool within ourselves, think about you being a 4-year-old running through a field trying to catch a butterfly. The chances of you actually catching a butterfly with your bare hands, not that great, but you believe you can. And you're not looking ahead. You don't care if there's a cliff. You don't care if you're going to fall. You're not thinking about a thorn somewhere in the grass. You're just running to get to your goal, to get to that happy moment, to get to this realization of catching this something beautiful and having it. There's this removal from fear. There is no fear yet. There's no judgment. You can run, you can play, you can scream, you can shout. And for a child, nobody's going to judge that. And that is the actual inner core of who the fool is. The fool takes that leap of faith. The fool doesn't mind screaming and shouting. The fool doesn't mind running at top speed. The fool isn't cautious about where is he going to trip. He knows if he's going to trip, he's going to get back up and just go again. And that is the main thing about the fool. Now, when we start looking at the traditional description of the fool and what it looks like within the tarot imagery, we're looking usually at a man that is at the verge of stepping off a ledge. I think this one of mine actually shows it the best. He's standing there, he's getting ready to step off this ledge, and he's usually dressed in warm colors, usually reds. Sometimes he's got a Jesus costume or clown-like costume on. But that is just to show that he's a little bit silly, he's a little bit naive, but also that he doesn't care about the judgment from society. He's not aware of that judgment yet. He's wearing these warm, crazy colors because he likes them. And he carries this stick, this little bundle over his shoulder. He's got a little white dog. Usually, I know in one of my cards, it's actually a bunny in the lights here, as we see her holding a crystal, amethyst crystal, as what guides her. And then, of course, we can sometimes see this dog nipping at his heels, and some we see the doggy running towards the front. Right, so let's start with the meaning behind this card. So the Fool, it's the first card of the Major Arcana, and it represents all newcomers of life, all newcomers in any situation as well. And it shows the archetype of the inner child that I've just explained to you. It's naive. He doesn't have any wisdom yet about the current situation. So he's still very optimistic. He's still very much full of potential. He can be shaped anyway. It's really just calling to take that leap of faith and saying, you know what, you don't know anything about it yet. Jump. Worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to stumble, you're going to fall, you're going to get back up, you're going to dust yourself off, and you're going to go again. And this card always makes me think of a quote by J.K. Rowling. I'm paraphrasing now, so sorry if I get the wording wrong, but she comes down to the only time that you fail in life is when you do nothing, in which case you fail by default. And I always pull that back to the Fool card, because the Fool card is the Fool. He's going to make mistakes and he's going to get up. And I always say that when we start looking at him, we're looking at an archetype that goes like, well, that's not failure. It's not failure to fail. It's actually a step in the right direction, because now I know how not to do it. He is constantly learning in his naivety, and he's starting in life. He's starting on a new situation. It's an untested situation. He hasn't been here before, and he's willing to trade his inexperience for wisdom, but he doesn't realize what his commitment entails. So, and that's a huge part of his naivety. I mean, when we're looking at the child running after the butterfly as well, they have no idea that the butterfly is faster than them. It's completely untested. And as they fall down, as the butterfly gets away from them, they start learning, wait, I might need to get something to catch this butterfly with, maybe a net. When they fall over the stone, they might go like, maybe next time I should watch for the rock here between the grass. when I'm running. So the fool in itself is constantly learning. He's an empty vessel that can be filled with so much knowledge if only he takes a leap of faith. Because in his naivety, if he just sits in one place, all that he becomes is arrogant and ignorant. But when he starts taking the leap of faith, when he has the freedom to do so as well, and he starts running at full speed, yes, he's going to make mistakes. Yes, he's going to fall down, but ultimately the fool will start learning from that. He's an empty vessel that can continuously be filled. Now, next up, we need to take a look at the bright colors that he's wearing, and that's not true in all cards. Some cards will have their colors in different ways. If we look at this one, the fool itself is wearing white, but unlike the fool, we see a lot of colors, surrounding the fool here, with the reds and the greens. It's still a very, very colorful card. Even when we start looking at this one, yes, he is wearing red, but we see a lot of blues and yellows. It's an extremely colorful card. If we look there as well. Yeah, so the colors, it's a sign of childlike nature. We can see, like with the white, sometimes that can rather show purity, also it's the childlike nature, but in most decks it would be a vivid color. I prefer the white for the purity. Some people do prefer the reds and the blues and the greens and all of that together. But it's just to show his childlike nature, to show the fool's childlike nature. And it shows that purity. It shows that he can have fun. It shows that he's not thinking of society's bias. And when we draw this card, especially with that in mind, and the clothing catches your eye, and you're thinking childlike, and you're thinking purity and such, it's very much a call to action to not give a damn what people are thinking about you. It's very much about saying, you know what, why do you care? Why do you care? Shouldn't you just be playful with it? Shouldn't you just be playful within the situation? Shouldn't you just try and move forward as best you can and just have fun with it? At the end of the day, there's no guidebook in what you're doing. There's no guidebook to life. There's no guidebook to the situation. So why not, while you're in it, take things a little bit less seriously and bring out the child and make it fun and laugh about it and laugh about you falling down. In most cases, when a child is chasing a butterfly and he falls down, he's probably going to laugh because it won't be that sore. Of course, if it's a bit sore, they scream for 2 minutes and then they run after the butterfly. Just again, they continuously learn. They've got their goal. They want to just be themselves. Now, next up, we need to look at, like in the Lightseer's deck, we've got that amethyst that she's holding. In most decks, we've got the dog. In the Wizard's Tarot, we've got the bunny rabbit. And the white dog, or the white creature, would be the companion to the fool, and it symbolizes the element of earth. And it's also showing loyalty, and it's showing communication. And we could suggest that the dog is the inner or the subconscious mind of the fool, barking at him to leap over the cliff. And that we see, think of it as a puppy. They playful, they jump, they don't think about. I've got 2 puppies at the moment in the house, and they are that stage where they're taking those leaps of faith. So I've got padding around the bed because the one little Charlotte will leap off the bed and she'll fall on her head, and she'll do it 10 times over before she learns, oh gosh, I can't do this. I'm getting hurt every time. I need to rather use the ramp. But at the same time, the dog is also that loyalty, that inner voice, that one that says, you can do it. You can do it. Go for it. Go for it. Jump. You can do it. It'll be okay. Even if you fall, even if you do get hurt, you'll be on the ground where you want to be. So it's almost like that little intuitive something that's like, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. And that's exactly what we get here from the companion. But the companion will also, as most dogs, when they see danger, and it's real danger, they will run in front. They will try and keep you from getting into danger. And that is what the inner voice is all about. Sometimes it will go like, do it. And sometimes it'll be like, stay away, stay away. This is going to hurt you. So that's more of a call to listen to that inner voice, whether it's logical or not at that moment, because the Fool is not a logical card. It's never been a logical card. It's a playful card, not a logical one. It's very much an emotional card. It's an intuitive card even, but not a logical one at all. So next up, we've got the Cliff, and the Cliff is something we can basically see in all of the cards, with the exception, of course, of the Wizard's Tarot. But there we do have the Stonehenge and her playing with fire. So she's actually playing with fire. And the Cliff once again shows the naive nature of the Fool. He walks, he looks usually upward, not knowing if the cliff is only a foot below him or 20 feet below him. It is, however, the only way to go, in his opinion, which is forward. And we see it even as she's playing with fire in that card. You don't know if it's going to burn her or just going to warm her up. She's got no idea. It's probably the first fire she's ever made. She is the initiate. And it's just that whatever the situation is, when we start focusing on the Cliff especially, whatever the situation is, the outcome is completely unknown. We don't know where it's going. We don't know how far it is to fall. And that's the big thing about the Fool, is it's called a leap of faith. It's called a leap of faith because if you knew exactly what the outcome was, if you knew how far down the ledge was, then it wouldn't be a leap of faith anymore. It would be a leap of calculation. And that's where we get to the Cliff. It says, you know what, this could go anywhere. It's limitless, it's endless. It could only take you 1 foot further than what you are, but it could take you 50 feet. And just because it's 50 feet doesn't mean you're going to get hurt. You might tumble a few times until you get there. But, I mean, the further the cliff is down, the more you're going to tumble probably, or slip or such. But at the end of the day, you're going to be much further, learning lots more valuable life lessons than what you would have if the cliff was only 1 foot down. Which brings us to the Sun. Now, all of these cards with, even this one, we can see the Sun within the Moon. We can see the Sun there at the back. I hope you can see here the Sun's rays over there. We see it in almost every card. We see the Sun. The Sun is a very big symbol within the Fool card. And yes, we see it everywhere. With the exception, this one doesn't have the sun, but we've got all of these golden rays going around the entire card as well, which is quite beautiful. And the sun represents manifestation and will and desire, showing that the Fool can shine from within and achieve whatever he sets out to do in life. And that's the wonderful part of this card, is this is not a card of constant failing to learn. This is a card that reminds us of the manifestation, of that will, of that desire, and that the sun will always shine again, that the sun will come up over the Fool at some point, and their achievements will be valued, and they will get to achieve their goals, get to manifest the reality that they would want to have. And then in all of them, we do see mountains in the background in every single one of them. And that shows that a higher power is watching over the Fool, and that guidance is never far, because mountains are old. There's always people around you that could give some guidance, could give some just advice on the situation as such, if only you were to ask. It's that call of, yes, do it your way, but do listen to advice every now and again. That is also important. And then, yes, if the Fool is dressed in bright colors, he will usually have a rose with him. And you can see where mine is dressed in white, there's no rose being held. But in all of the other cards, you will see a white rose or white flower somewhere in his hand. We can even see it right there. Sorry about the glare from the camera, but we always see the white there as well, which will then represent the purity, the innocence, and that childlike nature. But that only happens if the Fool is usually dressed in a very bright color. Now, lastly, you'll see that in some way, shape, or form, the Fool always has a little bag that he's carrying over his shoulder, or a little satchel, a backpack, or such, symbolizing that this is a very long journey. This is not just a quick outing, he is taking some stuff with him. There's no wear and tear usually on the bag, showing that the journey has only started. But being the Fool will be a lifelong journey. And that is the symbology of this, that journey will never end. You will always, you will always actually remain the Fool. And as we are the Fool in life, and we remain as being the Fool in life, there will always be a new opportunity. There will always be something new to learn. There will always be a situation where you are a complete novice. And that is also the beauty of the Fool. And that makes me think of something that Donna Darkwolf once told me. And she said, you know what? You might know everything about whatever. For instance, you might know the most about tarot when you're walking into this room of 50 people. But just remember, each one of those 50 people has one situation or one aspect of life or one skill in life that they know more of than any other person in that room. Therefore, you are the Fool in 50 different areas and only the master in one. And that is something to always continuously remember when working with the Fool, is that we will always continue to be the Fool, because it's impossible to know everything in life. So yes, so that is the Fool. So when we start reading him, we're looking at a leap of faith, we're looking at innocence, we're looking at naivety, but we're also looking at setting out to achieve our ultimate goals. And next up, we're going to be talking about the Magician, and I'm going to see you guys there real soon.